Hey, Jeff.
Hey, Eric.
How are you?
I'm pretty good. How are you?
Doing well, thank you. 12 episodes in 12 days. Obviously, there's things that people can think about, obstacles that get in the way. People cancel. People show up late. People want to reschedule for the new year. Okay, fine. People get that, right?
Yeah.
What are the most surprising things you think that people might not realize we have to go through to get 12 episodes in 12 days done?
I think that
Because I'll tell you, I don't think people take into consideration whether we're recording one episode a day or two or three or more,
yeah, we were supposed to do 3 today.
that we have to change outfits every time
Oh, true.
to look different.
Yeah.
And you don't want to have, like, for instance, 2 of the identical sweatshirt in a row. Or maybe you don't want to wear the same hat every day in a row, right? So that is something I don't think people would realize.
I don't even think about that much anymore because I don't know that people care.
Do you think that if you wore one outfit
Every single day.
that people would recognize that?
Have we had this conversation before?
No.
I feel like I'm having deja vu.
Okay.
Okay. So maybe.
I mean, we've sort of talked about it. Like you said you would do a Steve Jobs thing, but I don't think
Yeah.
we've made it like the point.
I was about to make that same joke though.
Really?
Yeah, about like wearing the same outfit every single
Should
day.
I have driven you crazy and kept the thing going?
And be like, we never talked about this before. What are you talking about? We've never.
No, but seriously, what else do you think people don't take into consideration when having 12 people in a row over to your house?
Well, I know my major concern is I have to clean the apartment before every single guest.
That is a big thing. You don't want to embarrass yourself.
Which, by the way, there's no mess in between any of these people.
No,
So like,
agreed.
I'm coming across like a real psychopath. Like,
No, why?
Because I'm Windexing. It's like I don't have OCD,
Yeah.
but I'm developing it because of this podcast.
I don't think people
I
realize.
mean, the dumbest thing that we've done is, and I think we can reveal this. I don't really care. The dumbest thing is that today you were like, I need to get green apples for our next guest.
You think that's the dumbest? I think that's the most impressive thing.
That was a really good
I think
thought.
it's a great callback.
That's a great callback.
And I was proud to go to the grocery store and get, like,
30 green apples.
listen, man, you want to make your guests feel at home. You
That's
know?
true. Right. For Rick Ross, we got a bunch of Berlayer Rosé.
Yeah, and
For the next guest, we get a bunch of green apples in a bowl.
Now, the real question is, does the guest take them home or do we keep them here? Is it like you get one?
We should give them away in the newsletter.
Is there a newsletter?
I don't know.
Didn't we just recently go through this or am I having deja vu?
We're going to put it out. I mean, the problem is the next newsletter would go out like on Christmas.
Are you doing something on Christmas?
Chinese in a movie.
Yeah, are you making deliveries? You have to, get packages to
Hey,
New Jersey.
Jews celebrate Christmas too, man. We're out here fighting the good fight.
It is funny. We've turned Hanukkah, an 8-day celebration, over the course of our lives into just Christmas.
Yeah, just Christmas, and
We all get together, we have tradition, and we give one day's worth of presents in one day.
8 days of presents in one day.
Yeah, what did I say?
You said one day.
I
You
think
said 1 day of presents in one day.
I think I might have said one's day. Man, I lost it. I don't know. What were you saying?
I don't know. We've been at this for 9 days straight. Like, I know this isn't like the toughest job. Like, we're not exactly like working in a mine.
Right.
I don't come home with soot every day. But that being said,
If you had OCD and you worked in a mine.
I do feel like I'm losing my mind.
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
I absolutely did. I was trying to think of questions today ahead of the recording that we have to do, and then I talked to you about like the calendar that we have going forward.
Right, because the guy who's coming over in an hour, you thought the episode was being put out on Sunday. In fact, it's being put out tomorrow.
Jeff.
And standing in front of you and trying to explain that while you just kept... This is my impersonation of Eric. I know this
Okay.
is a very audio podcast. You're going to tell me when the episode is coming out.
Who am I?
You're me.
Hey, this episode comes out tomorrow.
Oh, the 10th day of the podcast?
Yes.
But... No, but... And then I put the calendar back. It was like much longer than that. It was very clear that you were losing your mind. Like you could
okay.
not compute what was happening.
I think you need to work on your impression.
Eric, I've been working for 9 days straight. Today we had 3 people cancel. for an episode that we need for tomorrow.
Well,
not on Sunday.
But look at God, Jeff. Here we are.
God. Look at God. Merry Christmas. You're all getting a 10th episode.
Guys, look at Blap God. We have llmind on the podcast today. He's a producer you may have heard of. Mm-hmm. You know, he's one of the most popular producers these days, working with J. Cole, Lil Uzi Vert, Drake, TDE. The list goes on and
Russ.
on and on. And he's, you know, a very interesting case in staying true to himself. He never switched up. He never sold out. And regardless of what, you know, internet message boards may have said a decade ago, he is still here, still doing him, and bigger than ever. And it was a thrill to get him up here and hear him talk his shit.
Yes.
So, Jeff, when do you want to get into this episode?
Right after I tell people you're listening to this podcast right now on whatever service you're listening to it on. Maybe it's Spotify, maybe it's iTunes, maybe it's Apple Podcasts, maybe it's wherever. I don't know. SoundCloud.
YouTube. Castbox. Blapbox.
Blap God. Go subscribe to our podcast right now so you can get more episodes just like this one.
Yeah, and if you're concerned that we're going to put out daily podcasts forever,
it's not happening.
Don't worry about it. Because this ends on Christmas Eve.
Because if we keep doing this forever,
we won't be here forever.
Yeah, you know.
Anyway, smash that subscribe button.
Smash button.
Season. Jeff, when do you want to get into this episode?
Right now.
Yo, what up? It's Eric, a.k.a. 0.0353 ounces, a.k.a. G-Unit.
Yo, what up? It's Jeff, a.k.a. Guitar Center Dorks, a.k.a. Stereotypes.
Yo, what's good? I can't do it as good as you guys. My name is llmind.
Yes, your third favorite podcast to waste time with ItsTheReal.
I love that you leaned into just like the anti.
Yeah.
You were just like, I am llmind.
I am llmind, robotic voice.
llmind, it's great to see you. You are a returning guest on this podcast.
Yes.
And a lot of stuff has happened in between the first time and this time. But most recently, Jeff and I were down in Atlanta, and we got to link up with DJ Toomp. And among all the producers that he shouted out, he said that he fucks with your drums and your drums heavy.
Yes.
How did that feel?
First of all, so I saw that tweet.
Yeah.
And I, screen capped it, put it on my, IG and everything. So thank you guys. But shout to Toomp, man.
Big shout.
Obviously, that feels super humbling, amazing, incredible. I was one of those producers that grew up listening to him and idolizing him and like studying his sound. So yeah, I mean, obviously for him to say that is super super humbling. But I, under the same breath though, it's like I understand, right? And not saying that in like an arrogant way at all. Like it feels nice to work really hard on something. And one thing I put a lot of time into is my drums.
And then to be recognized for that.
Yeah, and just to be recognized for my drums from someone who is like a master at drums and a pioneer felt really good. So that was an amazing moment.
You know what else is amazing? How Eric was like, so many great things have happened to you in the 4 years since you've been here, but the biggest one must be you getting shouted out on our podcast.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah, you're welcome.
Sure.
Yeah.
No, honestly, that's one of it's. Honestly, like, a lot of big things have happened since I think 2015 was around the time we last spoke.
Mm-hmm.
Shout out to my man Joel Ortiz.
We've talked. Like,
Yeah.
We
Just
see
not
each other,
recorded.
Yeah.
Exactly. And but it's like those little things like that to me are the biggest moments. Like the guys like Toomp complimenting me on something like that like means the world to me. So
your last 3 years have been pretty incredible, and it's been this avalanche of just greatness. How much of it was planned, and how much of it just was one thing happening and another and another?
It's crazy. None of it is planned. None of it is planned, but I think that the planning, for me at least, the planning sort of happens in real time, where you work for a year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, and then you finally experience this like impact moment where you finally get a win or a break, and then from there that sort of like alters your strategy and your trajectory, and so the planning sort of happens in real time. And to me, I think it is no coincidence, not just because he's sitting here right now, but I think it is no coincidence that like when I really started to work with my current manager, Jonathan Master, shout to John, and my attorney, Vinny, and like really started to formulate this like real team, that sort of obviously like helped with the trajectory of the success, you know, because
When you were going into that, did you, like, when you brought John on, when you brought on Vinny, like, did you talk about what you wanted your trajectory to be?
no, not at all. It was literally, and I remember it was literally John calling me
Typical.
and saying, "Hey,
Yeah.
hey, I have this thing, and I think you'd be a good fit. Do you want to fuck with it?"
What was that thing?
What was it? It had to do something with like a beat placement, and so I did it, and we broke bread, and it was cool. And then, like, you know, a couple weeks go by, I get another, you know, call from John. Hey, so I got this thing, blah blah blah. You interested? And I'm like, sure. So that happens enough times to the point where one day I was just like, do you just want to manage me? Like, why don't you just like come in and like let's just keep working? And we are just like, cool, bet.
Had
Let's
you
do
had
it.
a manager before that?
I did. So before John, my last official manager was actually Shah Money.
Yeah.
Excel.
Mm-hmm.
Shout to Shah. And this was a while ago. This was like from 2007 to like 2010, I want to say. So from 2010 to around 14, 15 was me just like by myself, no manager.
And isn't there a part of you where it's like, well, I don't know, I could do it myself?
Initially, I was like, I've been doing this for a few years. I've been doing it on my own. You know, I've gotten this far. I feel like I can keep going. But I never reached a point where I told myself, I need a manager. I need to like build a team. It just sort of like happened organically. I know that's kind of cliche, but it really happened that way. And from the years of 2010, when I like kind of stopped working with Shah, to around 2014, those 4 years were the years that I started to really get creative, right? So 2011, I put out my first drum kit, which was like super just like not a thing at all.
You mean like nobody else was really putting out drum
No,
kits like that?
there
Or-
was no marketplace
Yeah.
for drum kits.
So what made you do that?
Thinking, I woke up and I thought to myself, I would love to have access to Jay Dilla's drums or Pete Rock's drums or DJ Premier's drums. And then I told myself, I wonder if there's producers out there that want llmind drums, right? And so I was like, fuck it, I'll just put a drum kit out, $20, PayPal button, throw it on my blog. Like 5 people might like it, but who cares? Like, let's just try it. And then I woke up the next morning and there was like $2,000 in my PayPal account. And I was holy shit.
Yeah.
Like, people want this thing, this kit. So then that like turned
Or
into...
it could have been the same 5 people just buying them over and over.
It could have
and over.
been.
Yeah.
It could have been. But I remember going into my email and I was replying to every single person, like, thank you so much. Here's your download link. Thank you so much, blah, blah, blah. And then so that turned into migrating into Shopify, creating a real business around it. And then just like discovering and finding out that it was a real like legitimate business.
There's so many people who have that idea where it's like, these are my sounds and this is my circle and I'm not going to share my secrets. I'm not going to give people access to this. Like, I have to own this and hold on to it because that's the only way that I'll succeed. What you did is the exact opposite of that.
Exact opposite. And you're exactly right. Before 2011, I'll even say 2012, prior to 2012, the entire music production culture was of that thinking. It was, these are my samples. I'm not going to sample snitch. You can't know where I sampled this. These are my drums. I EQ'd these. You can't have these. And that was literally the culture. And so when I decided to put a drum kit out, I literally went out on a limb and I said, you know what? Fuck all that shit. If I put this drum kit out and people buy it, and then there's people that make beats that are like mine or better than mine, and they might be able to, like, you know, put me out of business for whatever reason, then so be it. And at the time, if you put yourself in my shoes, like, that was a huge risk. You know, it was risking my reputation, people shitting on me, saying, oh,
man.
llmind's corny for like putting a drum kit out. Like, who
Right,
does that?
right.
Everyone's going to start to sound like llmind.
Yeah, right.
Blah,
And
blah,
by the way,
blah.
other producers could say that. They'd just be like, oh man, you're fucking up our shit or something like that. Like, that's a potential thing.
Exactly. So it was very high risk, right? But it, like you said, it ended up being the opposite, where it sort of like created this whole new ecosystem and way of making money in the community. And so I'm like super proud to be able to just like have been able to contribute to that. I'll never say that I like pioneered that, but
we can say it. How about we say it? Yeah.
Yeah, I'd rather other people determine for themselves, but definitely like Blap Kit Volume 1, I think pushed the culture toward the direction of sharing sounds, and I think that contributed to like the quality of the music. Like we hear it now, you know, when you look in the production credits, there's usually more than one producer, you know, sometimes 5, 6, you know, if you're Kanye, you have 20.
Yeah.
But it's become a thing, so I'm proud to be
Wait,
part
so
of
the
it.
credits for like, because I didn't realize that the credits for say like a Kanye beat might just be like him just like taking somebody's sounds and actually like doing it himself.
Well, I think in Kanye's situation, it's a little different because he'll have like a bunch of people in a room.
Yeah.
And, you know, if you're a contributor to whatever he's creating, then essentially I think you get credit for that. But I'm talking more so like, you know, you have a guy like Frank Dukes, for instance, shout to Frank, who, you know, spends hours and hours playing guitar, creating melody loops, you know, and I do the same thing as well. And then he'll, you know, say, hey, Boy Wonder, add the drums to this. And then Boy Wonder will add the drums. And then he might send it over to Vinyls, say, yo, Vinyls, do the 808s on this. And now you have 3 producers on one beat. And I don't remember prior to 2012 that happening.
Right.
I mean, when you look at from 2000 to 2012, you didn't have Swizz Beats produced by Swizz, Pharrell, and Just Blaze.
Right.
It was produced by Just Blaze.
Yep.
Produced by Toomp. Produced by Swizz. It was one person. And I'm not saying that's bad or good, but I just think the culture
It's just
has
a
changed.
different era.
It's a different era.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what's the song that has come across your desk and you were surprised at looking at the paperwork? Your drums ended up on some song and you're just like, what?
So I think the first time it happened was on a Bruno Mars record where I was like, oh shit. It was and shout to the Stereotypes, because they literally went on record saying they used one of my kits for it. But it was what's that big song? It was on his last album. 24 Karat.
That's
The trappy one.
Shouts to Nick.
Yeah.
Yes. 24 Karat. So those are my drums on there. They obviously layered and manipulated, but there was definitely some Blap kits on there for sure. And when I heard that, I was like, oh shit, like this is...
My $20 have gone.
Yeah, they've gone far.
Yeah.
So but now you see it everywhere. Like any new album I listen to, I hear at least one song at least with my sounds in it.
You get a kick out of that?
Totally, because I know my sounds.
Yeah.
Like you can be a producer, you could take my sounds and like manipulate the fuck out of them and use them, but like I'll know where you got them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you can't fool me. So
Where are you originally from?
I'm from Jersey.
Where in Jersey?
So I was
What
born,
exit? Yeah.
exit? So I was born in Newark. I'm from Newark, New Jersey, and born and raised in Bloomfield, which is like the town over.
Okay.
What'd your parents do when you were growing up?
So my dad was a musician. My mom was a nurse, Filipino. Surprise, surprise. But yeah, my dad was a musician. He played in a band, and they did like weddings and New Year's Eve and stuff like that. But he also, you know, played multiple instruments. So I just remember growing up, and it was just like keyboards, you know, drum sets, and he had 2 brothers as well that played instruments. So I just remember he would just like jam with all of his brothers. Like he'd be on guitar, one of my uncles would be on bass, another uncle would be on drums, and they would just like jam out. And that was my childhood, was just like a bunch of adults like playing instruments.
Well, when did you get access to the instruments?
I never really did until probably around when I was like 13 or 14. So my dad, I remember he had this like keyboard. It was a Roland keyboard, and I remember he spent like $7,000 on it or something crazy. And my mom was pissed as fuck at him, like, you spent all this money on this keyboard. So he got this keyboard, and like he never used to let me use it. Rightfully so.
Yeah,
you know,
it's an
like
expensive piece.
Yeah. So I remember one day he was away or whatever, and like I looked at it and I was like, today's the day. I'm gonna open this thing up. I'm gonna fire this thing up. I'm gonna fuck around with it. So I did, and I remember making beats. I remember the first beat I made on that keyboard, I was trying to sound like Swizz. It was like, let me make a Swizz Beats type beat.
Yeah.
On this. And so I did it, and I was like, I fell in love with it, and then from there it evolved to like, I remember there was this video game for PlayStation called MTV Music Generator.
Oh yeah,
Mhm.
totally.
Yep.
So once I got that, it was a wrap.
But do you think that you had a natural gift for melodies, or
1,000% for sure. That's pretty much where I draw my inspiration from, is like sound and texture. So like growing up, it was a lot of, like soul, jazz, like all the stuff my dad listened to. But then it was also like just being a kid, like playing video games. Like video game music was a huge influence on me. Huge. Like Final Fantasy 7, PlayStation, out to PlayStation, all the PlayStation games, even like, the like 70s, 80s, like movies as well, like, horror movies and sci-fi movies and stuff like that. The soundtracks, those were like a big influence on me. So yeah, like texture and melody was always my thing. And then when I started to listen to hip hop, it was like it all came together.
do you ever, because sometimes I'll do this and I'll just like, dive deep into Spotify and try to find like Mario theme songs and just like listen to those 8-bit songs.
Oh, I thought you were going to say like acapella versions. Of...
Oh no, definitely not acapella versions. No. Do you ever listen to any of those things?
Absolutely.
It's genius.
Absolutely, yeah. There's this really great documentary you guys should check out on YouTube. I think Red Bull did it.
Okay.
It's about like it's the history of video game music, and so it sheds. They basically interview like all of the pioneer like Japanese composers who did all the music for like Mario and Final Fantasy and like the woman who created the sound effects for like Street Fighter 2.
Yeah.
They're all like OG Japanese composers. And these guys were geniuses. So they were influenced by Western music. So they were influenced by like American, pop, rock, alternative music. And they just made their own versions of it. And so like that documentary was like super eye-opening for me, because listening to video game music growing up, I was just like, I always thought to my head, like, who's doing this music?
Yeah.
Like, who composed like the Mario theme song?
Yeah.
Because it's genius. Like it's like Beethoven level composition.
And the biggest earworm of like all time.
Biggest.
But there's something about like all those soul samples, obviously, like you talked about, but there's something to TV theme songs and video game theme songs, like when DMX would jump on something, or when like Busta would jump on the Knight Rider theme song, and like Timbaland and Magoo also did their version of it. That,
bird.
Yeah, that gets like lost in like, the mix. But I think there is something about that where it's like, oh, I can relate to that on a whole nother level that just doesn't happen anymore.
Exactly.
So when you're using MTV Generator and you're starting to compose your own stuff, is there an audience of like artists that you're trying to appeal to?
No, it was literally me being a kid, fucking around, making beats.
Trying not to break a $7,000 keyboard.
Trying not to break my dad's keyboard. But it evolved. It went from the PlayStation version, and then I got a PC computer, and then I bought the version for the PC. So I started making beats on my PC with MTV Music Generator, the PC version. And from there, I was able to like do more things where I can import MP3s and drag my own sounds, and it was like a step up.
So in theory, you'll come home from school, sit down at your computer, and that's it. You're just there until you go to sleep.
I'm there.
What is your friend group like at this point? So
I had a great friend group childhood. I think before the MTV Music Generator stuff, it was like you
had friends, and then as soon as you got the generator, then you lost them all.
That's true. Well, here's what it was. So I had childhood friends from like the block, right? And we would be, outside like playing sports and doing kid stuff, and those were like my best friends. And then when I started getting into MTV Music Generator, like in high school and stuff, I got lost in that. And then I started hanging out with, kids from high school. So it was like a lot of like my Filipino friends, and like I have an older brother, so like I hung out with some of his friends, and it was like a small circle of people. But then kind of around that time when I started to meet other people like in the industry and other producers and rappers, I started to kind of like move away from the people I was hanging out with, and I started to like make new friends, and I just started to change as a person. Like my interests changed. So
yeah, I mean, you found yourself.
Yeah, I found myself. Literally, yeah, exactly. Like I found myself, and so I started to meet other people, And that was kind of like the beginning of like the music journey.
But you must not have had any representation as a high school, sitting in front of your computer producer, right?
Oh, no.
So it's just you. Maybe people, other people hear your tracks. Maybe they don't. Maybe it's just for you. But how do you take that and then bring it to a bigger audience? Because this is, again...
Well, to an audience at all.
Yeah, this is before YouTube. This is before SoundCloud. This is before, like, you probably have to burn it onto a CD.
Yep.
Where are you taking it?
Throw it out the window and hope that somebody catches it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's funny because I had no desire at that time. I remember I had no desire for people to rap on my shit. Not yet.
Oh, it was too pure.
Yeah. At that point, it was. I don't really care that much. I just want to make beats and like listen to them, right? And like that was my thing. It was, let me just make beats that I want to listen to, and then like burn them on CD and listen to them in the car or whatever. And that was my thing. But I got to the point where it was like, okay, like now I want people to like rap on my shit. So the first thing, and I haven't really told many people this, but the first thing I did was I rapped on my own shit.
Aha.
Right? I don't even know if John knows this. But
John says he does.
Yeah, John's a liar.
Yeah.
I made a I don't remember telling him that. I made a whole album of me rapping and producing my own shit, like in my room, in my mom's basement, like in the closet.
You had a microphone.
I had a mic in the closet,
a mixer or something.
all that shit.
Yeah.
I had the whole shit, and I was mixing it in Acid, this like old program.
Who were you?
That was when I came up with my name, llmind. And I didn't like care about like becoming a rapper.
Yeah.
It was just fun to me.
Yeah.
Like I was listening to like Gangstar and like Alchemist and all these guys, Mobb Deep, and I'm like, I want to just like make music like them. So let me just like use my voice.
Did you have to do it yourself because you had lost all your friends because you were producing?
Probably.
Yeah.
Probably. But you know what? I did it myself because I didn't care about like how to do it for real. I just like wanted to do it in the quickest way possible. And so I think those were the years where I sort of adopted this habit of like immediately doing something and like learning something. So instead of like, oh, I need to record a song, I have to book studio time, it was, oh, I want to record a song, let me do it in my closet and buy a microphone from Radio Shack and figure out how to fucking hook it up to the computer.
And hope that the closet isn't booked.
And hope the closet isn't booked. Exactly. So like, I always just sort of did that. It was like, I want to do something, I need to get from A to Z. And I immediately go to this place of, I can do it. And, that kind of ties in, actually, I don't mean to skip over, but that kind of ties in with the whole manager thing.
Yeah.
Where when I started working with John and Vinny and Ran V and my whole team, I realized that, like I don't have to do everything. And when I focus on the stuff that I'm like really, really good at, and there's other people that are willing to help me and believe in me, then we can become like this bigger, more powerful machine.
Totally.
Yeah.
And
was
I
it
think,
hard for you to give up that sort of like autonomy?
Absolutely. At first it was, for sure.
Because you're like, I can do it.
I don't need anyone to do this because I can do it myself.
Yeah, why would I give it up? Yeah.
Why would I give it up? So I had to learn that. I had to learn that the hard way. But now that I'm at this place where I know that, and I do have people who are in place, who are willing to help and believe in the movement, things have been fantastic.
Back in that basement, in that closet, recording your own stuff. You're the engineer.
I'm the engineer.
You're the intern.
I'm everyone.
You're the artist. Yeah, you're everyone. So when I was in high school, I played drums, and of course, I was in a garage band, right? And
The name of it was?
it was never officially this, but there was like a week or a couple weeks where it was Catharsis.
Yes.
Nice.
Yeah. In
With
any
a K
event.
or C?
With a C. With a C.
Gangster.
So whether my family liked it or not, when we rehearsed in the basement, they had to hear it, right?
Of course.
We were loud and we were obnoxious. And when you were recording, did you have your stuff like just pumped into your headphones? Was it a really private thing?
No, I definitely got shit.
Okay.
For sure. My dad understood because he's a musician.
Yeah.
So he's like, let him do his thing. and there were a couple nights because I was like going all night. I was like on some nighttime shit.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember at one point my room was upstairs, which was like right next door to my parents' room. And my closet was like connected to the same wall that their room was. And that's where I recorded.
Oh, you weren't even in the basement.
No, at one point I was upstairs recording upstairs. And so
These are like the Dreamville sessions, but it's just
dude, exactly. And so I remember recording my vocals in the booth one night. It was like 11 p.m. or something, 12. And so my mom like knocks on the door, and I'm in there like in the middle of the recording, right? And she goes, I'll do this in like a Filipino accent. So growing up, my parents called me Junior, right? Like everyone called me Junior. So she knocked on. She was like, Junior, who are you yelling at? Who are you screaming at in there? And then I heard my dad in the background. He was like, leave him alone. He's just recording.
Yo, by the way,
that shit was classic.
I know it's too late, but maybe it's not too late. Can you please record your mother saying that and use it as a drop?
I will.
That should be your drop.
That'd be so great.
I'm going to see her on Christmas. So
Oh my God.
I'll bring the little mic.
Junior,
Wait.
who are you screaming at?
Is that more or less embarrassing had you had like say a lady friend over?
I think that would have been pretty cool.
Yeah.
Then I would have tried to act cool.
Yeah.
Mom, I'm recording my raps. Don't worry about it.
So
We're going platinum soon. Right, babe?
So in that time, how do you get your music heard, and who's the person that can really like deliver you?
Okay. The very first person outside of like my brother that I showed my actual beats to was one of my friends. His name was Phil. And at the time he was a couple years older than me. He was like the not neighborhood, but he was like the DJ. Like any parties that our friends would go to, he would be like the cool DJ guy. Like and at the time his DJ name was Philly Blunt, like DJ Philly Blunt.
So cool.
Yeah.
So cool, right? So he was like the coolest guy ever. So he had moved to like Philly, and I remember he got an apartment with a couple of roommates who were also DJs. So like in my mind, he was like doing his thing.
Oh, yeah.
He's like,
Yeah.
He moved to
Oh,
Philly.
he
He's
made
like,
it.
living the dream. He
Yeah.
made it. He's like
Yeah.
doing nightclubs in Philly. So we kept in touch, and I remember the first time I went to Philly, I went to one of his parties. We go back to his apartment. His roommates are there who also, are DJs, and like there's NPCs, and I'm like, holy shit, this like they have real gear and there's Pro Tools. So I play him.
This is like you're at the Mix Show Summit.
Yeah, dude, it was like next level for
Or
me.
like Guitar Center.
Yeah.
Exactly. Meanwhile, I'm using like a Radio Shack mic, and
Yeah.
these guys have like real gear.
Yeah.
So I go to my man Phil. I go to his apartment and I start playing him beats, and like he's like, "Yo, these are dope." He's like, "Yo, you sound like a little baby Pete Rock." I remember he told me I was like a baby Pete Rock. And
That's a nice compliment.
I took that as a compliment. All my shit sounded like wannabe J Dilla Pete Rock. Like that's all I wanted to be.
Yeah.
So mission accomplished.
Mission accomplished, right? They were really shitty, by the way, guys. Like they weren't good.
But the fact that like he would believe in you and be like, you sound like the thing that you're trying to achieve.
Exactly.
It's pretty excellent.
Dude,
Yeah.
that like implanted something in my mind.
I bet.
For sure.
I bet.
So he would be the first guy that I would show stuff to, and then that kind of evolved to like, hey, come with me to this party I'm DJing in Philly. So I go to the party, and then like I meet like rappers. Like I remember I met Reef the Lost Cause, who was like at the time like this buzzing artist in Philly, and then he wanted beats from me. And then a lot of the early stuff I was doing, I was online already. So I was on this forum on undergroundhiphop.com. It was like a producer forum.
UGHH. Yep.
And there was a producer forum where you upload beats. It was like kind of super early in the whole like upload your music thing. And I would upload beats on there. And from that forum, I met a bunch of people as well. So I met this guy named Slop, who was also another producer. He was friends with this rapper named Acrobatic, who at the time was signed to this label in Boston. And I remember he hit me up and he was like, hey, like, I fuck with your beats. Send me some, I'm working with this artist, Acrobatic. So he sent my beats to Acrobatic. Acrobatic ends up using one of my beats for a single called Remind My Soul. That comes out. And then I remember going to the record store, Fat Beats, rest in peace, New York City. I go to Fat Beats and I see my record on the bin, Acrobatic, Remind My Soul. There's like 10 of them. And I look on the back, it says produced by llmind.
Oh my God.
So that moment right there also changed my life.
I bet.
Because in my mind,
Did you buy it?
I bought it, yeah.
Yeah.
In my mind, I was like, holy shit. Like, I used to come to this store to buy vinyl, and now I have one of my own. I know I can do this.
When you brought that vinyl home, Did your parents appreciate it, and did they understand?
I didn't show them.
Really?
I didn't show them. Yeah,
Not at all?
In the early years, I was like kind of secretive. Like I'm pretty sure my parents thought I was dealing drugs.
Oh.
Because like I would have random like rappers.
Yeah, you talk
come.
about Philly Blunt and all. And
Yeah, like you're gonna go see Philly Blunt, and like random rappers coming to the house, like coming into the room, screaming in the closet, leaving,
Wait,
and then like
who were they yelling at?
yeah, who are they yelling at? And
Wait,
then like,
did
and
you
they would
think
pay
your
me
parents
too.
thought it was just like scream therapy?
Yeah.
I don't know what my dad knew what it was.
Yeah.
My mom caught on. I think eventually, but then they would pay me sometimes too, like $50 here, $20 here. Like yo, record me. I'll give you $20 an hour, and we do like 3 hours, and I make like $60 or whatever. So my parents definitely thought it was shady.
So
sure.
it's one thing to get your beat on Acrobatics album. It's another thing to create it for an artist.
Mm-hmm.
When did you get into that phase where it wasn't just a beat that you made, that you were like, no, I need to get this to this specific person, and they and we will create something?
So I think the first experience for me was working with Little Brother.
Wow.
When I really got to know Tay and Ninth and Pooh and them, and the whole Justice League, it was me studying the sound and like being a huge fan of their sound, and then realizing that my sound went in line with theirs. So it was when I was making beats at that point, it was okay. They had this specific beat, I have to show this to Fonte, so let me put this aside for him. So that was around the time that I was like getting more organized. It was like, let me send certain beats to certain people and not just like make a bunch of beats. So
Wait, I'm sorry. How did you actually meet Fonte?
okplayer.com.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you guys are both commenters.
Yep.
And so you saw like when they put up their original thing.
So they put up 2 songs. I remember Speed and it was one other one. I think the Yo-Yo. And I remember they did some remix contest, right? For Whatever You Say. So they did a Whatever You Say remix contest. They put the acapella out. I flipped it, right? I made my own beat to the acapella. I posted up on okplayer. And I think like Questlove liked it, and like Ninth liked it.
That had to
Fonte.
be like crazy.
Yeah, so and Crisis. So those.
Well, the crazy thing is that Questlove was Philly Blunts the entire time.
Exactly. Man, why'd you give away the reveal? I wanted to reveal it at the end. That's funny.
By the way, I definitely knew a kid named Philly Blunts also at Boston. It's like every single kid,
town has a Philly Blunt.
Yeah.
And they're always like really cool.
I wonder if every Philly Blunts like knew each other, or like they were like, "Yo, like
They do.
fuck that Philly Blunt."
Yeah.
The thing about the Philly Blunts are they don't smoke. They just named themselves Philly
Oh
Blunt.
no,
They
mine
never
definitely
smoked.
did like
He did?
lots of drugs.
I don't think mine did.
Yeah.
Maybe he's just lying. But so
Your mom thought he was doing
my
drugs.
mom, my mom definitely did. So they ended up liking the remix. That created some buzz on okplayer.com, like who's llmind, blah, blah, blah. And then eventually I ended up, linking up with Fonte and Ninth and Crisis, and we started talking, and that's how I met Sky Zoo. And this was when like AIM chat was like a big thing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I remember at one point, like, you remember how you used to like keep your AIM chat like on like I'm away?
Yeah.
You were still logged in.
Yeah.
So I remember
Real, like,
me
secretive.
so funny. So I remember me and Ninth used to just like trade beats. And I remember like every time I would come back home or get out of the studio, go back upstairs to my room, I would log on to AIM and I would see my hard drive, and there would be like 5 new Ninth Wonder beats. Like he would just send them right into my inbox.
Oh right, you didn't have the protection up. Like it would just come through. Yeah.
So
That has to be the biggest trip, by the way.
it was crazy, yeah. And I would send him shit. I think at one point on one of my old PCs, I have like upwards of like 200-300 Ninth Wonder beats.
And you hadn't met him at this point, right?
Not in person.
So you're like,
We're just like cool with
Yeah,
each
you're
other.
like, I think we're friends.
Yeah, we're like, are we friends?
Yeah.
Like, so yeah, that was like the early stage. Yeah.
So you're on the okplayer boards and you're putting your stuff out there. Obviously, like getting attention from different people probably makes you feel like, yeah, I'm really making it. I'm
Yes.
doing it. Have you gotten a check at that point to make you feel like this could be my sole line of work?
No.
So what's the job that you have in the meantime?
Selling beats to struggle rappers.
Oh my god, I definitely thought you were gonna say selling drugs. I was
I
like,
know,
that
yeah.
the entire time.
Selling drugs with Philly Blunt. It was selling beats, $50 here, $100 here, fucking Western Union, going to Western Union, picking up cash.
To whoever and wherever.
Rappers coming to the house and recording, and I would charge them, $20 an hour, like just little scraps.
So if somebody from, California asked you for a beat online and they sent you money via Western Union, you would wait for the money to come in and then email them the beat?
Yeah, I would go to Western Union, pick the money up, come back, get the receipt, show them, all right, I got the money, here's your file.
Man.
And it was all just like MP3s. Usually.
And did anybody sketchy come in through your house? You were like, you want to know
No,
what? Maybe this
thankfully
wasn't
not.
like a good idea. No, nothing.
Thankfully not.
Yeah.
I mean, there were, ones that I, ended up not being like thrilled to work with.
Yeah.
Sure.
Because they were hard to deal with. But
Yeah.
for the most part, it was a cool.
And this is before type beats, right? But your sound was clearly in this one realm, right?
Yes.
Was everybody looking for that same sound? They were like, oh.
A lot of people were. At that point. It was like, I want that soulful boom bap or hardcore gangster type shit, New York shit. You know what I mean?
I mean,
Whatever
you were
that
on the
was.
OK Player boards, so like, I feel like there's a very specific clientele.
Exactly.
They weren't like, you want to know what? I do want that Final Fantasy stuff.
Dude, exactly. Exactly. So yeah, there was a for sure a demand for it. Yeah.
When do you first meet someone like Sky Zoo?
So this was on AIM Chat again.
Yeah.
I was on AIM Chat, and then Crisis, shout to Crisis, he's part of Ninth Wonders camp.
Yep.
He hit me on AIM, and he's like, yo, do you have any beats? I'm working with this artist, Sky Zoo. He's super dope. So he sent me a couple of Sky Zoo songs. I heard him. I was like, holy shit, like this dude can rap. So I sent Crisis like 2 or 3 beats over AIM. And then like a couple minutes later, he hit me back. He was like, yo, Sky Zoo's with me right now. He loves the beats. We're going to record to one of them. Records to one of them, sends it back like a couple hours later. I'm like, holy shit, this dude's super dope. And then me and Sky Zoo end up hopping on the phone. And that's when we like really got to know each other. He was like, yo, your shit's dope. We should keep working. And I was like, I'm down.
This is modem days? This is like,
This was 2005.
Okay.
So yeah, it wasn't
Yeah.
like 14.4 dial.
No, it wasn't. It might have been
Like
a little more.
sending a file takes like 8
No,
days,
no,
and you're
it
just
wasn't
like,
that.
all right, well, the Western Union showed up a month ago.
Yeah, no, it wasn't that.
So
Damn.
Yeah. Sky Zoo's on your resume at that point. What does opening that door lead you to?
So opening that door, working
The
with
Sky Zoo door.
working with Sky Zoo made me a better producer because it gave me an opportunity to work with an artist who trusts me as a producer, who I have a real like working relationship with. And it went from sending beats to people and then like whatever happens to you record them, make the beat, you're coaching them, you're giving them suggestions.
You're a producer.
I'm producing music.
That's the difference between a beat maker
Exactly.
and a producer.
So that was my first experience of being a producer, was working with Sky Zoo, because we were in the same room. He would come over to my crib. So fast forward to like 2010, I moved to Brooklyn. And 2010 was when I really was like starting to just like fuck with Sky Zoo heavy.
It's also when you gentrified the block.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Man, we had a good rate too. Man, we had like a 3-bedroom fucking.
It was $1,000.
2 floors
Yeah,
for like
yeah, yeah.
$850.
Yeah.
Shit was crazy. So we recorded there, and those were the years where I really started to like open up, record with people. I started doing pop music and stepping outside of hip hop.
Were you afraid to give your opinion? Like at first?
No. Now that I think about it, no. It kind of came natural.
Yeah,
Where-
I feel like that is like you are somebody who has an opinion and is not afraid to share that.
Yeah, it's like if I know the goal is to create the best song possible, and if I hear something that bothers me, like I'm gonna say something, right? So it just it came natural.
Yeah.
Wait, before you moved into the city, Newark and Bloomfield are not far from the city. How often were you coming in? Yeah. Sorry, I was like, is my apartment falling apart? Which would have been like a very memorable episode.
Yeah.
But like not
Honestly,
great for
maybe.
It would have been a little bit distracting
Right.
had the ceiling fell down.
Yeah.
So how often were you coming into the city
Pretty often. I was actually going to Philly more often.
to see Philly
Yeah,
Blunts?
Philly
See
Blunts, yeah,
man.
yeah.
The parties were crazy. Philly was like one of the first like like one of the first cities that I really like built in. Like really, I went to Philly more than I did the city,
even though it's significantly further.
Yeah.
But did you? I mean, did you fuck with like the neo soul sound? Were you
Heavy.
like really? Yeah.
Heavy, super heavy. Yeah.
Did you like Common's album?
All that shit.
Yeah.
Love it all. People hated it, but I loved it. I
mean,
just loved
again,
everything Jay Dilla.
You
Yeah.
were on okplayer.com.
Yeah. I was very much that.
Electric
Like,
Circus. That was the
Yeah,
name, right?
Electric
Yeah,
Circus, Dilla, OK Player, The Roots.
Yeah.
Like, I'm your guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was me.
And so
Wait, what's something that like that did not fit into that box that you were very into?
G-Unit. I mean, this is kind of public information.
Well, I mean, yes,
at this
'cause-
point, but at one point I was signed to a management deal with G-Unit.
right.
This was from 2006 to 2010.
Yeah.
Is John from G Unit?
John is. He looks like he's from G-Unit. With the all over print.
That's
I see
right.
you,
That's
bro.
right. Yeah.
He's wearing the Reeboks.
Yeah.
I see you. Cuffed up jeans. I see
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
No, so G-Unit was interesting. Shout to D. Prosper and Shaw for like really believing in me. G-Unit was like when I started messing with them, that's when I started to like see some like significant money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, and not to put people's business out there, but I remember being handed wads of cash
Sure.
with no contract.
Right.
All singles. There were 5 of them.
Yeah.
Just
We're like, here you go. Good job on that beat. Here you
Yeah.
go. And I'm like,
Yeah.
oh shit.
Yeah.
I'm moving out of my mom's crib.
Music
Great.
industry's dope. Yeah.
Yeah, this is dope.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was like a super.
But what
learning
what
experience.
about like the G Unit like brand attracted you other than like the fact that you got to work with them?
The fact that like 50 is such a dope artist. The beats that they choose and they use are just so sick. I'm just a huge fan of like gangster street music, and they embodied that obviously. So that's the stuff I want to make. So that
Yeah.
became like a big part of my sound for like those years for sure.
Did you have to change your style or the way you moved when you started like running in those circles?
Yeah, how many bulletproof vests did you buy?
None. I thought I had to, but none. I didn't look at it in a way where I had to change the way I move. I think that my interests shifted, and the result of my interest shifting kind of impacted the way people looked at me. And it was like half and half. There were people from the OK Player boards who were like super hating, like
On you.
yeah, of course. Like, oh, llmind's
sellout.
Like, yeah, like
Yeah.
that was still like the sellout thing,
Right,
Where
yeah.
like, oh, you're a sellout now. You're not.
If
like,
you have more than one interest.
Right.
yeah, it's like
Yeah.
you're not doing sample chop beats anymore and working with this person. You're doing G-Unit now.
Yeah.
Like, you're fuck you. And then there were others that were like, yo, like congratulations, this is so cool, whatever. And I remember at one point, one of the forums, it wasn't OK Player, but it was another one. There was like a thread about like me being signed to G-Unit, and one kid left a comment and he was like, llmind's like the underground Scott Storch,
Wow.
which at the time was offensive at the time for some people.
Oh, I read it as a compliment.
Yeah.
Yeah,
same-
that's
same
what
here.
that's how I read it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But at one point, like people don't remember, like at one point, that whole community was like shitting on people like Scott Storch. They were shitting on like mainstream people. Like 2000s was such a bizarre era because like that whole, and I don't want to shit on that community at all,
No,
but
no.
like the whole movement that like I was sort of part of, where it was like underground hip hop. It was, raucous OK Player. We all loved that movement. But like if you listen to like Nelly or like, 50 or Jeezy or something, like
Yeah.
you're corny.
Right.
Yeah.
And that was very much a real thing.
Sure.
Like
Yeah.
maybe not to a lot of people.
Well, I think that's still going on, right?
It's still going on,
'cause,
right.
Like you'll see these kids who remember like the SoundCloud wars of like last year,
Right.
Where it's just like that long ago. I know like in this like era, it's just like everything feels like forever ago once it's like a month,
Right.
But when Lil Pump and J. Cole sat down together, and it was just like, oh my God, finally, these two vastly different departments
right.
of our world have like coalesced.
I just don't think it's as bad as it was.
Yeah.
Like from 2000 to 2010, that was a bizarre decade because it was from my perspective, it was bad. Especially like being a creative.
Yeah.
Like people were just so judgmental.
Yeah.
Like
Were you somebody who like searched your own name?
I did.
Yeah.
I did. Not out of like being a fucking
narcissist.
But I was curious.
Yeah.
I became curious about what people said and
Totally.
where people might be talking about me.
Yeah.
And like you find some crazy stuff, man. Like people were really hardcore about the whole don't sell out. You know, you work with this person, you're corny, blah, blah, blah. And like, I never gave a fuck about any of that stuff.
Good for
But
you.
also, it's a
yeah.
very unsustainable thing. It's like you can only work with 3 artists.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
Scott Storch has to play keyboards in like the Roots forever.
Yeah, like I'm the underground Scott Storch. To me, that's a compliment, but to you, you think that's offensive.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, no, you know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like, what are you thinking? So,
Who in G Unit, that maybe like a G Unit affiliate or somebody like not 50, not Yayo, not Banks. Who around there did you really attach yourself to? And you're just like, man, I never thought that I would be around this person.
Probably like the behind the scenes guys, like
Yeah.
D Prosper. I became really close with. D Prosper was the A&R at G Unit who found me. He reached out to me on MySpace, and me and him got really close. And I remember when D Prosper put me onto J Electronica. This was 2009, 2008. Wow. And he was like, yeah, I'm working with this dude, J Electronica. He's super dope. And he's playing me his music. And like, I was like, yeah, let's work, whatever. But he put me onto so much music. And he was, D Prosper and Sha Money were, this is my opinion, but I want someone to like really look this up and like confirm. But I'm pretty sure D Prosper and Sha Money, and I'll throw G Unit and 50 in there too. I'm pretty sure they were some of the first guys to give upcoming producers a chance to produce records on a major platform. Because before G Unit, when you look at production credits, it was pretty much like established producers. It was Swizz, it was Pharrell, it was Buck Wild, it was Rock, just a bunch of people.
Yeah,
you couldn't, if you were a new producer, like you weren't getting a major placement. So you had guys like me, Jake One, DJ Khalil, The Business, all of us kind of got a shot, we got a chance, and it was through G Unit
and some plaques
and a couple plaques.
Yeah. That G Unit run was like monumental and really was like everything in music. You adapted your sound. What are some of the things that you really like brought to the table for that run?
I think it was more of like my version of what they were already doing. So it was like a lot of like studying their music and the early G Unit stuff and like doing my version of it. But it came pretty natural because I was just genuinely a fan of the music first. And then...
But did you start playing like different keyboards?
For sure, yeah. I had that was around the time where I shifted to like software. So I had more sounds, more tools. So yeah, that allowed for me to just like go hardcore with the G. I probably have at this point, dude, like G Unit type beats. I probably have like 5,000 or 6,000 on a hard drive somewhere.
Is it almost time to bring them back out?
I mean, we could unload that clip anytime, right, John? Let's find an artist.
But I feel like that, like
I'll rap on that shit in my closet.
Yeah.
Finally.
Finally.
Yeah. So the next thing that happens for you, I think, is the Kanye stuff. How do you get on Kanye's radar? How do you? Because I feel like Kanye makes that decision.
Yeah.
Like it's not like somebody's just like, hey, here's this guy or whatever.
Exactly. So I'll give you the timeline. So 2010 was the year that I moved to Brooklyn, and that's also the same year that I started to like experiment my sound. It was like post G Unit, post soulful boom bap, OK Player stuff, and I was like, okay, where do you want to go creatively? That was also around the time where music was a little weird too, because that was like when Drake just like started to gain heat, and like. Yeah, it was just.
But there were also like a lot of like internet rappers who were coming.
A lot of it was the blog era. It was like,
and you paid attention to that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, Wiz, fucking Wale, fucking Currency. That whole movement was like my shit.
You're naming the entire XXL freshman cover.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Asher Roth.
Yeah.
Dude,
Wale.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I was super into that. The whole movement. Obviously, Kanye.
Yeah.
So that was the year that I started to experiment. Producing other types of shit like pop music, R&B, and dance music. Like I was all over the place. But that was also the same year that I did an album with Sky Zoo called Live from the Tape Deck. We ended up doing that album. We released it through Duck Down. And So on that album, we have a feature from Rhymefest. Okay, so Rhymefest did a feature on the album. When we did this song, I remember, me and Rhymefest were like talking on the phone about like the song and what we should do and whatever. So I got really close with Rhymefest. So after we did the album, around the same time we we're doing that, Rhymefest is like, yo, I'm working on my own album. Do you have any beats? I'm like, yeah, absolutely. So
you want G-Unit beats?
What do you want, man? Like, I got
BBP rock.
Yeah,
I got all of it.
What do you need?
It's like you're opening up your
Exactly.
French code.
Exactly. So like, I ended up producing some stuff for his project, for his music, whatever. So then we hit it off. So then fast forward to 2011-ish, like end of 2011.
So like a year later, yeah.
Yeah. He's like, he hits me, and he was like, yo, I appreciate, all the, beats, whatever. He's like, yo, I'm in the studio with Kanye. He's working on some shit. Do you have anything? And I'm like, fuck yeah. And this was after Power came out, so Kanye was clearly like working again.
Yeah, after the Taylor Swift stuff.
After all that shit.
Yeah.
So I sent him a bunch of beats. Early 2012.
Do you think to yourself, let me send him stuff that he'll like or that I really like?
I really like.
Yeah.
I was like, let me just send him shit that I love, because Kanye's creative. He'll hear shit that I don't hear. So I don't want to send him like Kanye type beats. I'll just send him the shit I love.
Yeah.
So then fast forward to 2012. It was like 2 days before my birthday, August 28th.
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I get it. Virgo season. SZN, baby.
Has returned.
Virgo season. My man.
Yeah.
So I get a text from Rhymefest, and he's like, yo, Kanye loves this one beat. Hold it. I was like, of course, I got you.
So like, I don't know.
Yeah. So this timeline, this stuff really blunt might need it. This timeline might not be exactly to the T, but it'll be close. So then I get another text from Rhymefest, and he's like, yo, that beat that Kanye loves, Raekwon just jumped on it. And I was like, oh shit, that's crazy, tight. Not Raekwon, sorry. Pusha T. So he was like, yo, Pusha T just jumped on it. I was like, amazing.
Pusha T from Wu-Tang Clan.
So after he tells me Push jumps on it, he was like, yo, Cudi just did some shit to this, to the joint. I was like, oh man, amazing. So he's naming all these people that are jumping on it. Yo, Sci-Hi just jumped on it. And then another text, yo, Kanye's on this joint.
Yo, how do you do you have to like think of a different thing, like cool, like awesome?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
dope,
Like, I didn't.
like,
at one point, I was just like, fuck. Like, what do I? So then in my mind, I'm like, this is like really happening. So then I get a text from Shay Pope. Shout to Shay Pope.
Yeah.
Shout out to Shay Pope.
Shay Pope was like, yo, Ill, what's up, man? I think Kanye wants to use one of your beats. And I was like,
Yeah, I just
was
got
like,
a text about
fucking
it.
Rhymefest
Every single feature.
just
that's
texted
been-
me an hour ago. And then literally, I go to bed. I wake up the next morning.
And 30 more artists were
Yes,
on it.
30 more now. I wake up and I get an email from this woman from Def Jam. And then the email is like, hello, llmind. We understand that you've produced a record or a song for Kanye West. We need your publishing info. You're this, you're that, you're that. So at that point, I was like, okay, this is really happening.
Yeah. Am I going to get it via Western Union or in cash?
Yeah. So Western Union Gas, pick one. So at that point, I didn't have an attorney at that point. So I ended up getting referred to an attorney named Matt Middleton from Rhymefest, and I ended up using him for the deal. So I ended up doing this song and ended up having Jeff Basker and Travis Scott actually contributed to the beat.
Crazy.
So they tweaked it up a little bit. And ended up being The Morning on
Yeah.
Cruel Summer. That moment right there was like the super turning point for me, because prior to that it was Sky Zoo album, coming off of this weird G-Unit post phase, the resurgence of like internet rap.
Yeah.
And it was also like, oh, I just released a drum kit and I made like $50,000 that year, like in drum kit sales. It was like doing really well. So this was just like, oh shit, okay, like you're a producer, like you need to fucking do this shit.
So
Like-
you had done all your other stuff without a lawyer.
Yeah, without a lawyer. without a lawyer. Crazy.
Very.
I signed a really bad publishing deal in 2010. You hear the sigh from John.
Yeah.
That John and my current attorney worked really relentlessly to get me out of, back in 2014. So
John is currently velcroing in his bulletproof vest.
Yeah.
he sure is.
Yeah.
He sure is. It's underneath the
Yeah.
all print sweater.
Yeah,
Did we mention he's wearing an all over print?
Yeah. He's all over print.
Yeah.
Yeah. So so proud of that. It was like, so once the Kanye thing happened, all these publishers started to
Knock
hit
on
me
your
up,
door?
knock on my door, like, hey, what's up?
Yeah,
man?
who you
What
screaming at?
You
Yeah,
screaming
yeah,
at, man?
yeah.
Heard you
No?
got 2,000 beats in your old hard drive.
Yeah. Those drum kits doing well. Cool. Well,
Yeah.
let's make you more money.
Yeah.
So that was that, and like that definitely turned everything around for me, for sure. And then from 2012, it was just like every year was more.
So the first time you hear of J. Cole to the first time you work with J. Cole, how many years is that?
Oh man, I got put onto J. Cole through Two Dope Boys.
All right.
Right, because I
Shout
was
out to
heavy.
Mecca
Shout out to my
and
guys,
Shake,
Mecca
yeah.
and Shake, man. Two Dope Boys put me onto so much music. So when I heard Sideline Story and like just all the shit that Cole was doing, I always loved his music. But then 2013, I think, was the year that my man Matt, Money Making Matt, shout to Matt,
Yeah.
who used to work over at Universal Music Publishing, and at that time started to work with Cole. He was the one that put that into play, work with Cole. So he was like, yo, I'm working with J. Cole now. If you have any beats, send
Was
them
that the
over.
first time that Cole started working outside of himself? Like he had been doing everything?
It sounds like it, yeah.
Yeah.
I think it was.
Okay.
Yeah.
And again, are you sending him something that you like or you think that he'll like?
Yes, stuff that I like.
Okay.
Stuff that I like.
And how many songs did you send him and what did he end up picking from that batch?
So I sent Matt like 30 beats. It was like a big pack. And he ended up using a beat that, I remember when I made that beat that he picked, I made like 5 beats that day. And when I made that particular beat, it's Love Yours. So when I made that beat, in my mind, I knew it would be a special song. I just didn't know for who. I didn't know like what kind of song it would be, but I knew that like the feel of it would be impactful if the right person was on it. Like my instinct in my mind was like Nas, like, oh, if Nas jumped on this shit would be, out of here or whatever. So I knew it would be a special beat. But I was surprised he picked that one, because
Do you order it in a certain way? Are you like,
Yeah.
put that like 3
I do.
because you think like, oh, all right, he'll pass. Yeah.
I do actually, yeah. Well, I used to when I was like sending beat
Yeah,
packs
right,
out
yeah.
like that. It was
Yeah.
like 01, 02, 03. Like
Yeah.
I would even slide it into iTunes and then do like the actual song thing. 'Cause,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
sometimes they don't go in order.
Right, exactly.
So yeah. So
Do
I
you
do that.
name your songs?
I do.
So like, just in case somebody gets like a piece of inspiration off of it and they're like, oh, okay, like the like morning, like
Yes and no, because my beat titles are fucked up. John knows.
Fucked up,
Yeah,
like,
they're like really weird.
like long, like,
racial
No,
epithets?
they just
Yeah.
don't.
yeah.
They're
That is
fucked.
fucked up.
They're fucked up in a sense of like they don't make sense. Like they just don't make sense.
Is it
Yeah, just like really. It's
Purple
like,
monkey.
Yeah, it's just like
oh, I thought it'd be like the,
I don't have
you
a
know-
beat in it called Purple Monkey.
Not
by the
yet.
way.
Yeah.
Not yet.
Yeah.
Until you record tonight.
I
yeah.
thought you were about to
Yeah.
say like how like iPhone will be like suggested password and it's like XQ
Yeah.
like 5
Yeah.
1.
Yeah.
Exclamation point. Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
That's what you should do.
Yeah. No.
These are all good ideas. There's no bad ideas in this room.
You don't name them like llmind like 3005.
Nowadays, I still uniquely name them.
Yeah.
But I'm smarter now.
Yeah.
Now it's like beat name parentheses BPM, right? Whatever BPM it is.
Yep.
Parentheses produced by llmind.
Yeah.
So like they have all the information right there.
Dot MP4 or whatever.
Exactly.
Yeah.
MP3, whatever.
Yeah.
But back then it was all over the place.
So you send that to him. Who gets word back to you that it's been chosen, and what do you think the first time you hear it?
So it was pretty straightforward. Matt hit me back and he was like, that beat, hold that beat for me. It was called The Park, actually. I remember. I named the beat The Park. He was like, yo, that beat The Park, hold that.
That is
Cole
a
loves it.
fucked up name.
I know, right? No, that was one of the normal ones. The beat after that was
Wait,
like,
did you spell it like PARQ?
the beat after
That's why
that
it's
was
fucked up,
like
yeah.
goblin
Yeah.
shit fart whatever.
Right. That's so crazy as opposed to Purple Monkey.
I know, yeah.
Which John suggested.
Yeah.
You're like, I would never name a thing Purple Monkey.
No,
just
goblin shit is
Goblin,
better.
Goblin
shit.
shit.
Fart,
Um,
yeah.
So he picked that beat, whatever, and then so he's like, hold that beat for me. So then I think it was like a couple months later. This was early 2014. I'm in LA, right? I'm like coincidentally in LA. So then Matt hits me. He's like, yo, what are you up to? I was like, yo, I'm actually in LA. He was like, oh shit, bet. How long you out here? I was like, a couple days. He was like, yo, pull up to the studio. Cole's out here. He's working. He wants to show you the record. So I pulled up with my man Sky Zoo. Full circle with Sky Zoo again. So Sky was in LA with me doing his other stuff too. And so I asked Matt, I was like, yo, is it cool if I bring Sky? He's with me. He was like, yeah, that's cool. Like, Cole loves his shit. So me and Sky Zoo pulled up to this Airbnb that Cole had. And it was on a hill. Huge. You walk in, huge spot, huge pool. There's like a patio, whatever. You walk in, huge living room, bunch of stuff everywhere. And then we walk to the back building, and it's like a separate studio in the back. And we're back there, and he's like, yo, man, I got to play this song. He's like, the song is special. So he plays me. It was the version where it was like the first verse and the hook. And he played it for me, and I was like the whole time in my mind, I was like, holy shit, like this is gonna like change everything. Like not just for me, but like this, I feel like this song can really like impact people.
Yeah.
So then after he played it, he was like telling me different ideas and like what the album's about and everything. And we just got to build and chilled, and that was it. And then like ended up finishing the song, and that was it.
When he plays you that song, which like, you to that point, you'd only heard what you had done.
Mm-hmm.
When you hear, and this doesn't have to be specifically about him, but like when you hear someone has made changes to the thing that you put work into, is your first instinct to be like, man, like it's not this exact same as what I sent? Or is it like, wow, the changes, like how do you take changes?
I've always embraced them because I never, like when I make a beat, I'll envision like what it could turn into, but I'll never like be super specific. So when I hear someone's voice on a beat that I make, I'm almost like 99% always like, holy shit, like this is great. So it's never like from a perspective.
It's never like a
criticism.
jarring thing.
No, it's never jarring.
Okay.
It's never jarring. It used to be.
Yeah.
With like, struggle rappers sending me Western Unions.
You're right. Yeah.
Sending me back, songs that I don't care about.
For sure.
Yeah.
But so 7 years later, when you listen to that song, what do you love about what you guys created together?
For Love Yours?
Yeah.
I think that, and I always say this every interview that I do, I think Love Yours is and will always be one of the most important songs that I make because it defines, and this is my opinion, it defines the purpose of what music is supposed to do, which is you hear it and it deeply impacts you in some type of way, whether it's listening to like Beethoven and like you hear a Beethoven piece and like you cry from it, or you hear, some turned up shit and it just makes you feel super hype, like some type of like extreme emotion. And I think that's what Love Yours like did for a lot of people. And all the messages that start to come in like, yo, like when I heard Love Yours, like changed my life, or like, yo, like I was suicidal at one point. Even that, one person saying that was like, holy shit, like this actually saved someone's life. But then for that to happen over and over and over again, yo, you saved my life. Like it was like super overwhelming.
Yeah.
Right. So obviously like the message, it was Cole, that's all Cole's doing. Like I can't even take credit for any of that.
Right.
But I will say that like whatever, being able to like make that beat and then pull that type of song out of Cole was just like something I'm super proud of and special.
And for you personally, what is the best thing sonically about that song for you? Like, do you like the way that the snare hits? Do you like the way that like,
I think just all the elements just made sense. Like all the characters, call them characters, all of the players in the movie, like just the chemistry. The chemistry was there. Like it wasn't, I didn't want to overproduce it. I didn't want to use trap drums. I could have put an 808 in there. I didn't. We could have did a bunch of change ups in there. We didn't do that. So I think it spoke for itself. And Cole told me that it was one of the only beats on the album where he kept the original sequence.
Wow.
on the beat. Like he didn't rearrange anything.
Wow.
Well, I mean, he did change the name from the park. So.
Yeah.
He did do that. At least it wasn't called Goblin.
Yeah.
Shit ball.
No, I feel like that would have been like a crazy.
I think that song would have impacted more if it was called Goblin Balls.
So does that in fact open up crazy doors to you?
It does. It does. It was another one of those like Kanye moments where it was like, okay, like llmind is still here or coming up or whatever. And yeah, so that opened up, and so top of 2015 was when, if you're reading this, it's too late happens. Drake, produced a song on there called "You and the Six," which kind of had like a similar feel to "Love Yours," where like on that song, if you guys hear that song, like Drake is basically talking about his parents. It's the first time that he ever like talked about his mom and dad like in that deep of a level.
Yep.
And so that was another like sort of like deep, impactful kind of record. And I remember, so I was produced by me and Boy Wonder, and 40 did the strings on the hook. And I remember when Wonder hit me up about it, he was like, "Yo, we got a song with Drake, and it's like one of his best songs like ever."
Is it weird to go from like, and I say this with all due respect,
of course,
being on the fringes of the mainstream to being at the center of the mainstream?
How's it feel? You're saying?
Yeah.
It's crazy. It feels like everything, and it feels like nothing at the same time. Where,
right? Like, is there a difference in what you're producing?
No. I mean, the real difference right now for me is I feel like I have more of a choice. Like I'm not bending over backwards as much as I used to. It's more so like I get to pick and choose more stuff. Like I get to, okay, I'm excited about this particular thing. Let me put energy into that.
Yeah.
As opposed to, let me just like shoot my shot with everyone, and then whoever bites down, I'll work with.
Yeah.
Right. And that happens like kind of to a certain extent, but like for the most part, things are a lot more laser focused. And I think that's like the main difference with like being on like this sort of mainstream level, I guess. But at the same time though, I'm the kind of guy who just like always wants more. So like I feel like I'm not shit yet. Like I feel like I still have so much more to do.
Not even when Disney cut you a check?
No, not even that. I mean, that's pretty crazy. But like I just feel like I'm just getting started. Like I just have so much more I want to do. Like I don't have a #1 Hot 100 Billboard record yet. So like that's a goal. Multiple, Hot 100s.
How long has that been a goal for?
Forever. Like I always just wanted to just like be at the top, be able to just like be a producer and work with like the best of the best, and yeah.
Are you not?
Yeah.
You worked with Jay-Z and Beyonce.
Yes, yeah.
You worked with Lil Uzi Vert.
Yeah, but there's always more. There's always going to be more.
Yeah.
Like the new artist in the year 2030, right? 10 years from now. We don't know who that's going to be. Right?
Lil Uzi Vert.
Yeah.
Uzi.
Speak for yourself.
It could be Uzi.
Yeah.
But whoever that person is, like, I want to work with that person. It doesn't end with Jay-Z, Beyonce, Drake, Kendrick, Cole. Like,
Lil Uzi.
Of course, I'm super humbled. Uzi.
Yeah.
I'm humbled by the 10th millionth degree to have worked with these people. But I'm never just gonna sit back and be like, I made it. You know what I mean? Like in my mind, I'm appreciative of what I've done, but I have so much more in me. I want to do more. I want to impact more. I want to inject my creativity into more things, and that's why I do the drum kits. I have the Pass the Aux. I dropped an app. I'd love to talk about that a little bit. All these different things I'm doing is all fulfillment for me.
Well, also, but how much of that comes from the way that your parents raised you? And I'm gonna assume you didn't say so, but I'm gonna assume that your parents were immigrants, and like being the child of immigrants, like what was the thinking that went into like how they moved and therefore how you move?
Dude, you hit it right on the nose. So my parents, yes, are immigrants. I was born in America. They were born in the Philippines. So like coming to America and having 2 children, it was the typical go to school, get a job, be American, do your thing, live the American dream. And so I think for me, part of it is growing up, we had an amazing childhood. Like I'm so like humbled and blessed to have the childhood that we have had. Like we had good friends. We spent time outside, home cooked like fresh Filipino food every day. Like I'm super thankful for that. That being said, you know, I had to go against the grain with like what everyone else was doing.
Right.
Being a Filipino from Jersey and being around those same people, if you weren't in school or you didn't get a job by a certain age, like it was pretty much like you're like a failure or whatever. And like that was what I was for a while.
You were the black sheep of
yeah, for sure.
What do your siblings do?
So my older brother, I have one older brother. He's an accountant, right, and super successful, homeowner, the whole nine.
Yeah.
And he was always like, shout to my brother Les. He was always like
Paul.
Yeah, Les Paul. Yeah.
Yeah.
He was always like the guy who just like was good at everything. Like he was prom king. He was the captain of the basketball team, captain of the tennis team, like straight A's, all that shit. And but he had supported me throughout this whole thing. Like he was one of my biggest supporters. So I had a lot to prove. I was a younger brother. I had to live up to him. I had to live up to like my dad being a musician.
Yeah. Yeah.
And my dad, like, he I don't want to say he was like a failed musician, but like he was definitely a musician that had a lot of potential that like never like really made it.
Well, I mean, he reached the
Right?
ceiling, right?
He reached the ceiling,
Yeah.
yeah. And so like that kind of pressure was there. All of my friends were going to school. No one was doing music. I'm Filipino. I'm from Jersey. Like, what are the odds of like you doing anything with your life? And like I took that huge risk, and like the risk I took was like to never quit. It was like, you know what? Regardless of what all these people are saying, I'm just gonna keep going and like fuck it. If I'm 30 something and this doesn't work, like it is what it is.
Would you have actually like given up though? I don't get that feeling from you. Yeah, like it doesn't feel like you're that type who would be like, you want to know what? I'm 30, I'm 35. Like it's time to get a 9 to 5.
Never.
Yeah.
Never. I mean, like the thought of like quit, like I look at it like
Not when you have a bad pub deal, not when
Never.
the internet has whatever they have to say about you. Like
never.
Yeah.
I've not. You know what? It's funny because I've never learned that emotion. Now that I think about it, like I don't know what that feels like. I don't know what the feeling feels like of like stopping something that you want to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I want to make music for the rest of my life, and that's what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
Like, why would I stop?
When was the first time that your parents, maybe let's say your parents. When was the first time that your parents really accepted what was happening?
2008. I was in Scratch magazine. It was the issue with Dre on the cover.
Are your parents subscribers? at
No,
that
but
point?
I brought
Okay.
the magazine
Yeah,
home.
Yeah, they went to Barnes and Noble
Yeah,
and
no.
they were just like,
Yeah.
My mom knows Dr. Dre.
Yeah.
Well, does she?
She does. She knows who Dr. Dre is.
Oh,
So
we're gonna get into that in a
Yeah.
second. But like,
But her son,
not personally,
her
but
son
she
knows
knows-
Dr. Dre.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was in that issue. It was a one-pager, llmind, and so when I brought the magazine home, they were super proud.
did
And
you
I
just
think that
leave
was-
it open on the table? And
Yeah.
you're
No,
like,
I showed him.
yeah.
I was
Oh,
like,
what is
"Mom,
this?"
check it out.
Yeah.
I'm in the magazine."
Were you wearing any G Unit clothing?
I may have.
Yeah,
I
I
remember
hope so,
wearing
yeah.
camo in the piece in the picture, but which was very G Unit of me.
Yeah.
Yes.
And your,
Camo
and your
hoodie.
mom's like, why are
It was
your
like
clothes...
LRG. It was
Yeah.
like an LRG camo. Like
But was it like camo or was it like red and gray and
no,
black?
it was camo.
Okay, yeah.
Your mom's like, why are your clothes screaming?
She didn't say that. She might have been thinking that.
Yeah.
So I showed them the magazine, and that was like that was the first like, oh, you're in a magazine, cool.
Yeah.
Like this could work.
Okay, so J. Cole, Jay-Z, Lin-Manuel, whoever, right? Dr. Dre. You go out to Los Angeles, and you are at his studio.
Mm-hmm.
You spend time with Dr. Dre. Number one, was he wearing white Air Forces?
He was.
Okay.
So it was Dr. Dre.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
was.
yeah,
It was
yeah.
him.
He didn't send a clone.
Yeah.
No.
And number two, is he... This is someone who's larger than life, right? Like, is he everything you want him to be?
He is.
Yeah.
He is. He's everything I want him to be, and he's everything I thought he would be. He's like when you walk into
big
a room,
expectations.
when you walk into a room, the first time I met him in the flesh, the first thought in my mind is, I can't believe I'm looking into your eyes. Like I can't believe you're looking at me right?
Real
like
human
I could
being.
like I can touch your face right now.
Right.
Yeah.
Like you're here.
Yeah.
You're also like
Wait,
really.
did you touch his
No,
face?
I didn't.
Oh, that's a real missed opportunity.
Yeah.
I know. You're also like.
He's like, this is not where I thought this meeting was going.
Yeah,
Like,
he's
you know,
also. Can you imagine?
people
if I,
don't
like,
normally
did
come
that
in
to
and just
Jay?
like touch my face, but
He's also
that's
like
what sets you apart.
He's
You'll mind.
like also extremely big. Like
Yeah,
he's
yeah,
a big
yeah.
person.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and it's very bizarre. It's bizarre. Like I've been around Dre probably 5 or 6 different occasions in my life so far, and every single time it's like, holy shit, I'm around Dre, and that never happens to me. It only happens with him.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know, just something about him.
Does he gift you headphones?
No,
Like
he didn't.
in person? It's just like,
But he did gift me his presence.
yeah, sure.
He did give me his
Oh,
presence.
for a second I thought you were gonna be like his presence. He gave me socks.
Yeah. yeah. Socks by Dre.
I wish I
Yeah.
got socks from Dre.
Yeah. So you're in
But the
there.
first time I met him, he hated my beats. I don't know if you guys know that.
Yeah. I do remember that.
Yeah.
But is
Wait,
is
how
hate
did you-
is hate the proper word?
He didn't hate him. He just like
strongly
he didn't like him. I think he had a huge expectation.
Despise them?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He had a huge expectation and just didn't meet it.
Well,
How did you leave? Like how did you leave feeling?
During the moment of him listening to my beats and like not nodding his head at all.
Yeah.
I was definitely like super sad and like upset.
Yeah.
But afterwards, we were talking and he was like giving me advice and like I immediately felt better. I felt like
was the
the
advice? Yeah.
He-
Don't do those beats.
Yeah, he was basically saying like pretty much that. But in a nutshell, he basically said like you're doing beats that sound like what I would do. He's like, or you played me beats that like you think I would like. He's like, just like make your shit. Like I want to hear your shit. Like don't make beats for me that you think I would like beats that, and that's what I was doing. Like I was making beats like that I think he would like.
So in subsequent returns, you've played him beats again.
Mm-hmm.
Does your shit sound so much better coming from
does.
his speakers?
It does.
Yeah.
It does. He also plays music extremely loud.
That's what I've heard. Yeah.
Extremely loud.
Like there's nobody else who has a bigger like system than
Oh
him.
God, it's crazy. I don't know what he's like on nowadays, but like when I was there last time, it was.
Does he try to talk to you in the studio while the beat's playing, and you're just like, I don't know, man, I can't
hear
like,
you.
physically hear you?
I don't remember if he did or not.
Yeah.
Because like I said,
Were you with
and-
Philly Blunts?
no, I wasn't. I should have brought him with me though, because all this is Phil's fault.
Yeah. Yeah.
If it wasn't for him, we wouldn't be here right now.
That's right.
But I like when I'm in the studio with Dre, like it's still like a dream. Like it's I'm there like playing my beat really loud, and he's turning it up and like he's like looking at me and nodding his head and speaking, and I'm just like, yeah, keep going. Like, and so it's just surreal. I don't think that feeling will ever go away with Dre because it's Dr. Dre, man. You know?
Yeah. Living in this era where people don't just do one thing. You're not just a music producer. You do a whole bunch of things. Getting into tech is an easy thing to do. What made you feel like you had something to add to this crowded field of apps?
So, for those who don't know, I just dropped an app called llmind Connect.
No big deal.
There you go. And so, when I thought about the app, it wasn't from an approach or perspective of like infiltrating tech. It was more so, how can I
Collect data
Yeah, well,
and then sell it to China.
to keep it a buck, yeah, that's really what we're doing here. But I asked myself, like, how can I connect deeper with my supporters, but in a creative way that no one else is thinking about right now? And I figured out a way to do it, right? So right now, the whole talk is like ClickFunnels and, like you just said, email collection, phone number collection, mass texting. You know, shout out to my man Ryan Leslie. Superphone was ahead of its time, still going strong. So the whole conversation right now is collect data, create your own database, and then funnel your interactions with your supporters. And so, you know, you get a 40% upwards ROI. So I'm like, all right, well, everyone's doing all that shit, right? And I kind of went back to like 2011 with the drum kit stuff, and I'm like, I want to do something that like no one else is like really doing or thinking about right now. So I'm like thinking about all this stuff I have in place. I have a podcast. I have a monthly club called the llmind Platinum Club for like my hardcore llmind fans who just want to be connected.
Smash that subscribe button.
Yeah, hit that subscribe. And so I'm like, all right, what else can I do here? So I'm thinking, let me put myself in the consumer shoes. What do I want to see? So I'm like, what if I did an app where you can download the app, it's free. You can see everything that I'm doing in one app. So you open the app and you can buy drum kits, which are discounted on the app. You can download right on the phone. You can submit songs and beats directly to me on the phone. You could consume all of my inspirational content all in one place via video, via voice, all that stuff, all in one place. And you can also receive push notifications from me, which is like my favorite feature, where every morning or every week I'm sending a motivational push notification to your phone. And so that way you see the notification and you're continuing to be inspired by my content. So
wait, what are some of these like messages that you're sending?
So like like just motivational stuff, like tips on like mixing tips, or like little things like motivation, like like make this a great week, like instead of making 5 beats today, make 6. You know what I mean? Like small kind of things, like quirky kind of motivational.
But don't play that beat, Dr. Dre.
Exactly.
Motivation.
But it's all rooted from like stuff that I learned.
Yeah.
Like I'm not like reading a motivational book and copying and pasting. It's like, like I fucked up here, or I did this, like try this. You know what I mean? So
I also like the idea of like maybe if you yourself were not feeling that like super motivated one morning, it's just like get up.
Yeah, no, exactly. Like, listen, I'm not saying I'm like fucking Dr. Dre or anything, but like if I like found out Jay Dilla, rest in peace, like if Jay Dilla had a fucking app, and like I got push notifications from Dilla like every morning or every week, like fuck yeah, I would be hyped.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I can go on the app and like download his fucking drums, like hell yeah. So that's how I looked at it.
Yeah,
right?
I think what is special about you is your relationship with your like your supporters. Like all these people who really like look to you and see you as an avatar for like everything that they're doing, which is very dope.
And you connect with them in real life too, which I think is the dopest, because we like to do that as well at live events. It's like it's like you can do something on stage, but then when you really go, you're outside with the people. Mm-hmm. And you're talking and having a real one-on-one, and you can touch their face and everything. That is a real moment.
I love touching people's faces.
I see that with you guys.
Yeah.
It's so funny we're talking about this. So I was just watching. I can't think of the name of the person, but I was watching this interview on YouTube, and
It's the real.
Yeah.
with
Cameron.
It's the real, right?
Yeah.
This Cameron interview.
Yeah.
It's up and coming artist named Cameron.
Yep.
So anyway, so I'm watching this interview, and they're talking about this guy has like 40 years experience in like branding. He wrote like 10 #1 New York Times best-selling books. I feel really bad I forgot his name, but anyway, so
I really do
put it
think
in the
it's the real.
description.
Yeah.
So it might be It's the Real. So he's talking about branding and the idea of the relationship between a brand and a consumer, and how there's different levels of it, right? And so there's like 4 or 5 different levels. We won't go through all of them, but like the 2 that like really struck me was like, so the first level of brand impactment is satisfaction. So you have a product or service and you put it out there, and the least thing that can happen is that someone consumes the product or service and they're satisfied. Oh, that product did exactly what they said it would. Cool, I'm satisfied. So the satisfaction tier is actually like the bottom tier. So then the next tier is, not only are they satisfied, but they're like really like impressed. Like it exceeded their expectation.
Yeah.
Enough for them to want to tell their friends. Right. So that's step 2. And then there's like one more step. But then the most intense step, which is like the step that we all want to get to in terms of our relationship with our consumers and fans, is empowerment. Where the empowerment level is, not only am I satisfied, not only do I want to share with all my friends, but if this service or product or person went away, my life would be completely different. I depend on this person all the time for empowerment, for inspiration, and this person makes me feel alive. And when you have that type of connection with a consumer, they're there for life. And if you can manage to scale that over time, that's where you have, the J. Cole's and the ItsTheReals, you know what I mean? And like, that's where you want to be. So like, when I saw that interview, I was like, holy shit, like I'm kind of like low key, like on the way there. And I want to continue to do that. That's why, like, as a music producer, I know I can impact people with my beats. I've done it with Love Yours. I did it with Moana. I did it with this, Jay, Beyonce. I'm going to continue to do that. But that's why I'm going so heavy with the podcast, the drum kits, the producer stuff, because I want to just continue to also deeply empower the people that like fuck with me on that level. Yeah. And I want to just continue to do that for those people.
And I think if you look back and you think, all right, a decade ago, people were on message boards and they were saying that you were a sellout. I think the definition of a sellout is somebody who takes money and switches up. Mm-hmm. But you never switched up. You have your sound. You have that soul. That same guy who was making beats that you wanted to keep Jay Dilla alive, or you got something from Pete Rock. Like, that is in you right now, and it's in the product that you put out there on a regular basis. It just so happens that the artists who are fucking with you and jumping on those songs are at the center of culture right now, and that is not selling out. That's just doing it right.
Yeah, that's being part of the culture. That's being a contributor to culture, right? If anything, and yeah, that's just kind of the space that you're in, But yeah, it's just humbling to be part of it. That's all it is. Yeah.
So next up, I imagine that there's a lot in terms of what you're contributing to other people's projects and what other people might be contributing to your own. Mm-hmm. You mentioned a lot of the artists that you've worked with, the Coles, the Jay-Z's, the Beyonce's, the whoever. Is anything going on? You mentioned Kendrick before. Is anything going on currently with Kendrick?
Yeah, so I was a couple months ago, I was in LA. So TDE put together like this writing camp where they had some of the artists come in. They locked down a studio for a month. They had some of the producers come in, kind of similar to the Dreamville sessions, which I was also invited to, thankfully.
I photoshopped us into it.
Did you?
Yeah,
the golden ticket.
But I did it like 9 months later.
Oh shit!
And I was like, I got lost in the mail, and all these people were just like, oh my god, like you should have been there.
They're like, fuck
That's
the
so
postal
funny.
service.
You guys really should have been there.
No,
Honestly.
agreed, but it's fine.
I literally would have done nothing. Like, it's just I'm just sitting on a couch.
Right.
And by the way, just real quick before you get to the TDE stuff, it is funny. So we've been in a million studio sessions, right?
Yeah.
And we just play the wall because we enjoy, like I was telling you beforehand, the process of like watching something being built, right? And we just love that. We're not there to but people do like us in the studio because they like our vibe, They like the jokes, they like us like being there. And it I don't know, it's wild to me to be a part of the process but not be a part of the process.
But you guys are also like legitimate music people.
I dig it. Thank you.
Even though you don't make music physically, like you guys have these ears that look around you. You know what I mean? Like it's crazy.
Thanks,
so yeah,
man.
I see the value for sure. Yeah,
totally. But anyway,
so back to the TDE.
Yeah. So
before I derailed it.
No worries. So TDE did this meetup or this camp or whatever, and so I was there for a couple days. Flew back to New York, and I was like, you know what, I got to be out there more. Flew back out for another few days, and it was a great experience. So like, I know that they're working on stuff. I don't know anything specific. I can't really say, but I know that they are working on multiple things, and I've heard some stuff that sounded incredible. I did a couple records maybe in there that have some people on there rapping.
That's exciting.
That could rap.
Yeah.
That sound incredible, and
I mean
that's what I know.
You can say the title. The title is
The title is Goblin.
Purple Goblin.
Poop.
Yeah.
Featuring this person.
Well, listen, congratulations on everything that you've done. Not just in the last 3 years, which have been truly exciting, but honestly, like making your way from Newark, New Jersey, all the way here today and beyond. It's really, really cool to watch.
No, I really appreciate you guys, man. And it's crazy because there's so many, like doing this interview with you guys, I like realized like how many different phases I've been through.
Yeah.
And I think like it's just exciting to like think about like what the future holds too. because we were talking about this earlier, like the whole trajectory thing, where like you start, there's so many years that you start off like with no momentum that people don't see. But like those years are so crucial. Like if I never met Sky Zoo, I never would have worked with Rhymefest, who never would have hooked me up with Kanye, who like pretty much set up like the 2010s for me, right?
Yeah.
And I never would have met Sky if it wasn't for OK Player.
You would have been on OK Player. Yeah, I mean, like, it's
you can trace it all the way back.
Yeah. Like, it's one of those things. I mean, like, literally, if we had you talking for 30 some odd years, we could get your entire life. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's one of those things where it's like all these things connect, and like everything matters.
Yeah. llmind connect.
Woo!
Yeah. llmind Connect. Go download Android and Apple. Available now, free.
Thanks so much for coming through.
Appreciate you guys, man.
Thanks everyone for listening to this new episode of A Waste of Time with It's The Real. If you want to find out more about us, I'm Eric with the curly hair. That is Jeff with the glasses. And together, we are It's The Real. No apostrophe, no spaces. If people want to find out more about this podcast, it's called A Waste of Time with It's The Real. Smash that subscribe button now. Woo! Jeff, if people want to find out more about what's going on with us, where can they go?
You can always go to ItsTheReal.com, ItsTheReal.com. Go to our website. We've got a newsletter. We've got merch. We've got stuff to click on. We've got stuff that you can even throw money at, including your computer screen. It's The Real on Twitter, and It's The Real on Instagram, and It's The Real on YouTube.
Now is the time where we like to shout people out for being good people. Yeah. You know, for doing your job, for supporting your family, for picking up trash on the streets. Jeff, what?
This is a very specific.
What good Samaritan do you want to shout out?
But also very vague. Like I honestly don't know who you're speaking to.
You don't think there's more than one person out there who picks up their trash, who is good to their family, who's good at their job?
This is for the people who are bagging up groceries at the groceria.
Yeah.
This is for the people that are cutting up the plastic rings on top of the soda can.
That's right, Jeff.
This is for the dolphins that don't have to eat those plastic rings that have been cut off the soda can.
You have the vision.
Yeah.
You know? I dig it.
Mm-hmm.
Who are you shouting out, Jeff?
This is for Gerald out in Omaha, Nebraska.
A good American. Yeah.
A good, real person.
That's right.
I want to shout out Phil, who I saw on the subway the other day. Phil was a person who said, "Hey, love your podcast," and then instantly stopped talking to me.
That's a real interaction.
This is a real interaction on the subway.
I think it went by too quickly, Jeff. Slow it down. Do it again.
Phil said, "I love your podcast," and then when I looked up and I said thank you, he looked away.
End of scene.
End of scene. That was it.
So, you think Phil's listening right now?
I hope so. Phil, I saw you at 42nd Street. You seem nice. You seem shy, and that's okay. That's you.
Jeff, I want to shout out our friend Felton over at Dreamville.
Again, another real person.
No, that is a real person.
Phil is a real person. Why are you saying it like he's not a real person?
You know what?
Just because you weren't there? Phil is a real person. I swear to God. Phil, you have to prove Eric wrong because he doesn't think you're real.
I want to shout out Felton from Dreamville, who we saw last night, who was nice enough to drop off some sweatshirts and t-shirts for us. And I also want to shout out, because Felton was in the front seat of an Uber, and we ran up on him, and he gave...
No. You're explaining wrong. Felton said, "Hey, come meet me on the Lower East Side."
Yes.
We go over to the Lower East Side.
He had
went to the block.
Okay.
And we walk up to a car that lowers the window, and all we hear is this dude yelling from the window and then pass a bag over the driver.
I heard him say, Eric. Yeah. So the driver hands me the bag. I say thank you. I also want to shout out whoever that was in the back seat. Don't know who it was. And by the way, there might have been like 4 or 5 people in the back seat. One of the people was banging on the window and was like
so he was being kidnapped.
So I either want to shout him out for overcoming that obstacle, or being an It's The Real fan, who knows?
Yeah.
Shouts out to him.
Yeah, if you needed help, sorry we couldn't get it to you, but hopefully you hear this in whatever underground dungeon you're in.
That's right, Jeff. Day number 9. Day number 10 is tomorrow. 12 days of podcasts as always, guys. Not for real, for real.
Sure.
We'll see you guys tomorrow.